You're watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.
Welcome to All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral with me, Smithy, and the Magic Man, Joe Cole. Joel, I'm going to get straight into it.
Yeah,
I think I'll guess in straight away because I've got a plethora of stats about this man. Joining us today is the greatest goal-scoring midfielder of his generation. Listen to this. Chelsea's all-time leading scorer with 211 goals, 29 goals for his country. He's also England's highest-scoring midfielder, the top-scoring midfielder in the Premier League history. He's won 3 Premier League titles, 4 FA Cups, the League Cup twice, the Europa League once, and of course, he lifted the Champions League that night in Munich. He was also runner-up in the Ballon d'Or. To top it all off, he's got an IQ of over 150 and an A star in Latin. It is, of course, Super Frank Lampard. Frank, did I miss anything out there?
No, I'm just a bit disappointed with 3 Premier League titles.
Are you?
We should have won more than that.
Yeah, you still look back on that and look at...
Do
you look back on what you didn't achieve then? Because you've achieved pretty much everything there is.
I think that's what we do, Joe. And it's sometimes those bad nights or moments are the ones that stick in your head. They shouldn't do. I'm joking.
Yeah, a lot of players say that, actually. Yeah, that they stick in your head. Yeah. You two know each other so well, of course. Teammates, West Ham, Chelsea, England. Joe, first memories. Talk me through the first time you met Frank.
I think I was really young and he was playing in the Youth Cup and I was going up to watch. So I was up in Liverpool, so you and Rio, and I just remember, I watched him play with, remember Lee Hodges? And Lee Hodges was the superstar at the time, and Frank was playing midfield, but Lee was like a genius of a player. And then I got to play with him when I used to come back from Lilleshall, and he was already in the first team, Frank. And I just remember seeing like the work ethic and the talent. And that was the great thing about West Ham at the time, because I could see Frank and Rio just there ahead of me in the team. So it was almost like, okay, like the bar's been set. I know what to do. I know how to get there. And yeah, so it was just the quality, first of all, on the pitch, but the work ethic was just unbelievable.
Yeah, so many players say that about you, Frank, the work ethic you had and training behind. I was going to ask a similar question to you about Joe, really, your first impressions of meeting and working with him.
Yeah, the one I remember, Colin, I don't know if this is our first time that we met, 'cause I don't actually think I actually met you at this moment, but I remember when you were playing a game, you must have been under 14s or something. I was in the youth team, a couple of years older, as we know. And Harry came and called us out and said, everyone's got to come and watch this kid who was playing in this game. So we went out onto the pitch at Chad Relive and watched this kid, and all of a sudden we've seen him and he's literally mazing through everything. He's doing the full repertoire of tricks. And I'd heard whispers about you before about the talent that you had. So I just remember seeing it was a massive impact. It wasn't just me and Rio, and it's some of the older players were like, look at this kid who was doing all these things. And that was Joe's arrival. And because Harry was my uncle, I knew the work was going behind the scenes. Harry was like, we've got to try and get this kid. There's no chance we're going to get him. Man, you want him. Fergie's got him on the bus and all this sort of stuff, whatever it was. And so I was a bit like, I want him to come. I don't mind if you don't, because
Is it a bit that?
if he's going to be doing step overs and beating 5 players in a couple of years' time, I'll be back out of the team. Because I was, like you talk about work ethic, I was probably, I was a good player in the youth team. Lee Hodges was just one everyone was talking about. Manny on me was playing, he was fast and that, and it was getting. They were sort of sneaking in the first team before me, and Rio did. So I was sort of stuck in my own little world of trying to, do all the things I felt I needed to get better. And I did have a good work ethic, but you came over with that talent, and obviously I think you certainly had that work ethic as well. I don't know if we affected you a bit. I certainly loved that environment. My dad used to push me, but I remember Rio doing headers because he was at number 10 converted to a centre half. The coaches wanted him, you need to toughen up, you need to be able to head it. And Rio used to do loads of that. Do you know what I mean? Rio used to come across as quite a laid-back kid, but people don't realise sometimes the thing behind that, Coley can do all those step-overs, but the things behind that, there's a load of work ethic, don't always get seen.
That's spot on. And I think, like, the environment, some of the sessions that Frank's dad used to do, remember that one he used to do the cutback one, right? And Chabalif was a bobbly pitch. I don't know if I did it with the lads, and I used to say, when I was the coach, I say, look, Frank used to do this one all the time. And the amount of top players I'd coached in the youth team who'd gone on, I wouldn't name names, embarrassing, that couldn't do it. And he would just, like, do you remember, you cut back and you get your body over it, and then how many goals did he score like that? So you see the work behind the scenes, and one thing that all top players have, Rio the same, Frank, all the great players I've been lucky enough to play with, they've all got that. That's the one thing that you can't. So when I see a young player, if I'm coaching him and he hasn't got it, it frustrates me. When I see him leave the pitch, when you blow the whistle for training and they all go off, I can't get my head around it. It blows my mind because he was out all the time. I was out all the time. And Frank was in the first team as well, still doing it. Remember, get the spikes on, Frank? Used to get spikes on and do sprints because he wanted to quicken his feet up.
Extra hours after training was done.
After training, off his own back. It was like, So I think West Ham at the time, it did affect the younger players and Carrick as well. Mickey, we watched them so we could see it happening.
So, a question I want to ask both of you actually: could you both? I'll ask you first, Frank. Could you both tell each other were going to the very top? Because you must have been around so many talented individuals that might not have made it because of ability or because of attitude. Could you both tell that you were going to go to the top the first time you saw each other play?
I'll say it because Frank will probably be humble about it, because when Frank, young age at West Ham, when we were playing together, and you know, people saying that maybe he shouldn't have been. I was playing with him, and he was the best player on the pitch in the games, scoring goals always, and in training he was the player I looked up to try and learn, because I was a street footballer, so I needed to learn. Frank was brought up in an environment of his dad was a player, so he was so well drilled and well schooled on it, and I used to look at him and think, how's he scoring all these goals? So I scored 104 goals in my career. And I reckon I would have only got half of them if it weren't for because I used to watch him. How does he do that? Do you know what I mean? So I used to be like, so even in the younger age at West Ham, when his years at West Ham, he was probably one of our best players in the team, without doubt.
And could you tell as well, when you first saw Joe, you thought this kid's going to go all the way?
Yeah, for pure talent, definitely. But one of my strengths, I think, as a young player, was I had a real fear that I wouldn't make it. Probably my dad. My dad would have always said to me, "I only one in whatever make it, and if you don't do all the sprints and you won't make it." So that actually with me to this day in different forms in football. So yeah, you were the most outstanding talent. Joe was the most outstanding talent, without a doubt, that I got anywhere near in that sort of growing up process. Leo just were good players. Joe came along and it was a different ball game. But we were not naive at the time. You don't know what the steps up the ladder are. But it was very evident that you were going to get your foot in the first team. And then the rest is down to you. Because the player you were when I left West Ham, you talk about being a street player or whatever. Maybe when you first got in, because people were so surprised to see you try and do things on the halfway line as a midfield player that you probably shouldn't do. Some coaches would go, you shouldn't try and do that.
Interesting.
And people would go, but be fair to Harry, he would have probably gone, no, do it, express yourself. So it was good for that stuff. But then you then do need to learn, okay, well, maybe you can't. Or when you go to Chelsea, there's a different level. When you get the armband at West Ham, okay, now I have to be a different personality. So all those little steps along the way make you into the player you become.
Yeah, so we've spoken about West Ham there, some unbelievable players you had. Obviously, Frank, you made the move to Chelsea. I want to talk to you about the time when Roman Abramovich took over from Chelsea. What was that like from a player's perspective? Because on the one hand, you're thinking we're getting a plethora of unbelievable players here, but are you also fearful for competition for places as well? Is there a bit of both?
It was surreal. It was surreal completely, because my first year or two at Chelsea, we were struggling for funds. There was sort of the club being sold, administration, a few things just before Roman came in. So we went from being a bit nervy about that as a player, that, oh my God, I might get shoved out somewhere in a negative way, to being all of a sudden quite excited. But at the same time, you worry about what's going to happen. I was on holiday, I remember, in America, and when I heard the news, and I didn't know who he was, never heard of him, but it was exciting, but it was scary at the same time. And then when he landed at Harlington, our training ground at Chelsea, in his helicopter, straight away, it's different. Do you know what I mean? The helicopter just stops training, and he comes down and he looked around and he hated it. And he spoke through Eugene, who was with him, who spoke good English at the time, his number 2 or associate. And he said, "This is all going to change straight away."
Really?
Yeah.
When you say everything?
Everything.
It was a Kazi Harley.
This is the worst training ground in the Premier League. Nobody got showed the training ground before you signed.
It's on M25,
and come and have a look. Yeah, because it's windy. The planes took off every 2 seconds. The university used to come and get changed in the afternoon, so we all had to leave to let some 18-year-old kid with his socks down his ankles come in and play. Marcel Desailly was like, "I've got to shoot in his Ferrari." Some little kid. It's just where the club was. And Roman came in and said, "Right, this will go." And he was right. And then the club changed in 2 seconds. And fortunately, it went in a really positive way, not just for me, but for the club. It changed the face of it.
Yeah.
Do you remember, Lamps, because you was a mainstay, you left West Ham, you played every game for Chelsea, more or less, you settled in, and then I come, all these stars came, and there was a game, I can't remember what it was, but you and JT weren't playing.
Yeah.
So what game was that?
It was in the Champions League. It was in it's like Slavia Prague, something like that. It was in Europe, and it wasn't a top team, but it was our first game. So we'd qualified for the Champions League the year before, just before Roman came, which sort of saved the club, as they said, beat Liverpool last game.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And then then they started bringing in Makaleli, all came in, Veron, all the players came in, Joe yourself, and so it was like, okay, this is good, but let's have a look at it. And then the first Champions League game, which was the one, everyone was looking at it, going, okay, what's Ranieri going to do here? Is this going to change the face of it? And we sat on the bench, me, John, and Ida Johnson, who had been pivotal the years before and getting us to where we were. And we all had the we sat there and we were like, what's happening here? We sat in our rooms after the game going, what's going to happen. And I don't know if I came on sub in the game, but anyway, it changed. But at that point, we were like, oh no, this didn't look good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Could you imagine then, looking back on that moment, you sat on the bench and in the early parts, that Chelsea would go on to be so dominant and win so many trophies?
Not yes and no. Not at that point. It was exciting, but because I'd never been part of an environment or a club that actually goes and wins leagues. You don't know what it is until it becomes you. And I don't think we knew until Mourinho came in, because even that last year with Ranieri, who I've got so much time for, he brought me to the club. The players would come in and it still felt like a little bit of a mixed bag. We got through to the Champions League semi-finals, but I don't know if the feeling was really there that we're going to be absolute winners here.
Yeah.
But then when Jose came in, it was like, right, we're going to be winners. And we'd had another year of stability and we all felt a bit bigger, I think. And then all of a sudden I thought, yeah, we could take over a little bit here.
What did Jose change then? Because like you said, you had great players, you had a good squad. You just said there you're full of praise for Ranieri. So was it more of a mindset that Jose changed rather than a philosophy of how you played?
Yeah, for me it was.
Yeah.
I don't know if Joe will have a different recollection, because I don't remember too many things in my game that he said, Frank, do this, and like, to minute detail. What he did do for me was set up a team that really suited me, and it worked for me because I had Makaleli was standing behind me.
Yeah.
I'd always been in a pretty flat 4-4-2 with Ranieri. All of a sudden now I had Makaleli, I had another midfield player, so I could do not what I want, but I could get involved deeper at the pitch, I could arrive, and that really worked for me. The rest of it was mindset with me. He made me talked me up as a player, sort of dragged me up and tried with self-confidence. Like the way he walked around the pre-season in America, we went to Seattle, I think we were. Yeah. And I was like, this fella's unreal. Like, he thinks he's, you know what I mean? He bowled, he had a different thing, and it wasn't strict. It was like a mixture of, I will lift you up, but at the same time, go and have some cookies in Starbucks and bring him in, and that was relaxed. Stroke. He just had a real nice mix, didn't he?
Where was the where was the moment? Because I remember it. I don't know whether it's actual memory, where I've imagined it, when he said to you, Frank, I'm sure we was in the showers, and he said to you, you're the you're the best player in the world, or the best midfielder in the world. Like, and again, at that time in your career, Frank, it's probably, I don't think the people had quite appreciated you as much. Like, it wasn't regular for England at that time, was you?
No.
So how did that feel for him to say that to you?
It was amazing. I think we were in Seattle, and we were in Seattle at the training at the NFL team. We used to train, beautiful training ground.
Sounders.
Seattle Sounders?
Sounders, yeah. So we're training there, and it was amazing. And we'd had a training session that was roasting. I remember it's hot, and we were in there, and he came in, and we were, getting showered. And he just said it to me, as you say, as brazenly as that. And I wasn't, because at the time he said, people like Zidane have got medals, you need to get medals to do. And I'm like, you're talking about Zidane now. I was like 24, whatever, and felt nowhere near it. But it was obviously, I think he meant it a little bit, as in he could see the potential that I might be able to sort of lift the level and go to somewhere near that. And some of it was probably mind games, which I understand now, because I've been a manager. It doesn't mean it's a lie. It's not like it's complete nonsense to you, but at times you need to find the right way to motivate a player. And it's funny you say it, because I remember a couple of days after that, we played Celtic in the first game of that pre-season, and I had the biggest nightmare ever.
Really?
I had 45 minutes, half just to fill your way in, and I couldn't give it away. I was trying things, because he said to me 2 days before. I remember going on the pitch thinking, I better do this.
I was thinking you were going to say the opposite.
Stop getting Rabonas out. I'll try and cross fielders. I was trying everything, I swear. And I was
David Dunn Rabona,
yeah, it was all that. It was embarrassing, right?
Wow.
And he never said a word to me after. And then I had a dinner with him. I think he was being given an award or something in London, like 15 years later. It's like not that long ago. And he went, "Do you remember that game you played?"
No, he didn't. Did he?
He called me on it.
Wow.
He called me on it. He went, "You were useless." I was like, "Yeah, I was," and I really felt bad about it, because you just boosted me.
Yeah.
So it was brilliant at that time.
Do you know what I remember about that game? We played it was so hot when it was like 110 degrees, and Big Johnny was just his first game. Big John Artson was playing for Celtic, and I remember I was standing next to him, mate, and he was beetroot. I thought Big John ain't gonna make it out this half. Someone get him. I was chatting to him afterwards, and he was like, just got back from like Marbella for 2 months. He could. His head was so red. I was worried. It's the only time I've been concerned about a player's health on the pitch. God, he was about 2 stone overweight. I remember the game.
I was just going to ask you the same question, really, Jose. Your relationship with him. Do you understand a lot of what Frank was saying, the man management side of it, and how it used to positively affect your game?
Well, listen, that's why he was probably a genius. Like, because he probably looked at Frank and probably thought sort of the potential, and probably thought he needs that. With me, it's completely opposite.
Really?
He abused me in a nice way. We talked about it.
Yeah, we have.
I always had a good relationship with him.
Yeah.
And I always had
He was
like...
quite honest with you, you've said to me in the past, haven't you?
Brutally honest.
Yeah.
I remember his first season, I scored the winner against Liverpool.
Yeah.
And 1-0 at Stamford Bridge. And I thought, straight out, I've had a great night. I thought, I've done, like, you cracked it, scored the winner against Liverpool. And then the next morning, the papers were like, he just hammered me for I didn't track a runner last minute.
Yeah.
And it was like, the two faces, the beautiful face and the ugly face, and he needs to do that. And anyway, but that was basically our relationship in a nutshell.
Yeah.
He had moments. I remember playing a game. I went through on goal against someone. Crespo was there. I should have just put it in myself.
Yeah.
But I've tried to do the no eyes one to Crespo for him to tap it in.
Yeah.
And then nothing. We'd won the game 2-0.
Yeah.
No bearings on the game whatsoever. And he come up to me warming
Crespo
down.
missed.
Crespo missed it. Yeah, sorry. Crespo missed it. And then the next day we're warming down. I'd had a good game, so you're feeling good. And he just come over to me and said, "You fucking bastard." He said, "You'll never play for me ever again." And I was pushing my car thinking, what happened? I turned around to him. So, what's going on there?
Wow.
And then he didn't play me for the next game. I pulled him. And he was like, you can't do that. You know, you have to be a killer. And he started talking about players he'd had at Porto. And then he boosted you up a little bit.
Yeah,
He's like, you need to be better in this part of the pitch and this part of the pitch.
Yeah.
But that was it. He gave me a little bit of sugar and then a lot of salt.
Right. Did you get that, Frank, as well, from Jose? Not so much.
Not so much. No, I must have been his like. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. A couple of times. I remember taking a free kick once from like 30 yards. It was one of those ones that's on the angle. Like, should you cross? Could shoot. Yeah. And I shot. And I think it's the same as Coley said. Like, we won 2-0 or something. Yeah. And then he pulled me the next day. But I remember being shocked because he never really did.
Yeah.
He'd go for a few others.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was his style, wasn't it? And, you know, it works for some, it doesn't work for others. So I wouldn't have liked that either. You know,
interesting.
You know, I'm sure you didn't like it, but if
I
it's
didn't
the
like
best
it.
out of it in a way, then you reflect on it and go, okay, I like that. And everyone has their own way of coaching. And it's since becoming a coach, I analyse that side of it, balance of it, as much as you analyse anything in the game, as much as you analyse what system you're going to play, you go, how do I get the best out of these players? And you've got 24 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
They're all different.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I mean, I've got some on the list of the managers you work with, obviously Scolari, Ancelotti, Di Matteo, Mourinho, there was Benitez. There's so many that you work with. Would you say Jose had the biggest impacts on you as a player, got the most out of you, or do you take a bit from all of them?
Take a bit from all of them, but he definitely had the biggest impact because of the time in my career that he came. I was there. I was ready for him. Do you know what I mean? He was what I needed.
Yeah.
Because I was probably a little bit humble, probably a little bit kind of going all right, but not really breaking the line that I could have done. And I think he helped me do that. So I think for impact, but it's a really hard question because there's so many of them. I was actually thinking about it on the way here, sort of, because I always mention Carlo Ancelotti at the same time.
Yeah.
Because he had a real, the touch that he had with me was a much more kind of friendly touch.
Was it?
In a way. And I don't make me and Jose get on really well, but just in terms of as a player to manager, which I really liked. So if you sort of amalgamate the two of them, you kind of go, that and the football and the aggressive side of Jose.
Yeah.
But he also created a family. So those two are the ones. But I had good times with Ranieri. He brought me to the club. Gus Hiddink, I really liked.
Yeah.
He made things simple. And for me, a manager that can make things simple, give you a simple message, give you simple things through the week to get you to perform at your best, is the ultimate. Because some managers can try to complicate the game, and they make you start thinking about a million things. So those ones stick in my head.
And it's interesting you said there about how you think of it differently when you go into management compared to when you're a player. Do you take a bit of what all of them did in your own management style, or is it, as a manager, is it important to have your own style completely?
It's really important to have your own style because otherwise you'll go all over the place.
Right.
If you try and be Jose one day, one situation, and Carlo the next, I think players will see through it. It's not authentic. It's not you. So I think it's important that when you're thinking about how you want to be a coach or manager, you kind of get that in order. You go, I like that and I like that, but then you become it because you then get affected by your time as a coach and you change yourself anyway. So I take little bits, but it's important that you're authentic. And the great thing about Jose and Carlo, we're talking about them there, is that it was Jose. He was very content with being nice to me and an arsehole to you, and then nice and then an arsehole. You know, I mean, it's him, you know, and that's a great thing because actually, you know what? Now I speak to Jose and we're not competitive anymore. He's actually a really good bloke. Do you know what I mean? And we can talk. But when he's working, he's like, I've got no problem. I've got to get stuff done.
Yeah.
And if I need to get Joe Cole, as I see it, better to play on the right wing from the left wing, then I'll say this or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So.
We're going to go on to talk about the Champions League night, obviously. I'm sure you'll be fine talking about that epic moment in your career. But how big was that first Premier League title, that under Jose? That must have been a huge moment for your career.
Yeah, it was big because it was it broke the mould, it broke the feeling of, like I mentioned, not being winners. It broke it for the club, broke it for the squad. You could clearly feel it. We were all in our peak kind of years, John, Didier, myself. Yeah. We were 20, a bit older, we were 26. Yeah. Good timing. And it was time for us to win something. And I remember it vividly. I remember it not far behind the Champions League final because of scored the goals, obviously, at Bolton and stuff, at the celebrations, and the feeling was huge. And it gave us all a belief. It gave the whole club belief, even the fans. They hadn't won the league for 50 years. Yeah. So all of a sudden, the whole landscape changed.
Where do you think the Jose, obviously, when people talk about the greatest Premier League teams, there's so many epic Premier League teams. You've got the Invincibles, the treble winners at United. That Jose team that had, I think, was it 15 goals conceded? Obviously, where do you think that ranks for you? Because obviously you're part of it. Is that the greatest Premier League team, do you think? Or one of them? Where do you think?
You can't call it the greatest, because I think there are others that have really achieved maybe more than that. Yeah. But we would have competed with all the greats.
All the greats, yeah.
And I don't know if that's a get out of an answer. You know what I mean? But, and I think I really believe we would have. But then you start looking at great Man United and Arsenal team, Invincible. They have a real case, but we were as strong, and we could have definitely competed with anyone.
Yeah. Unbelievable, that team, wasn't it?
But it's interesting. I wanted to ask Frank, because when you see the teams that he's coached, like the style that like. What did you? It was different. Comparing eras of teams is difficult in any case. But like, do you know, was the type of players you coached different to how you remembered us being as kids or like young men as footballers? And was it? Did you have to? What was the differences? I think.
Yeah, they are. It is different. Yeah. And very quickly, I think you've got to realise that it's not a bad thing, because like when you're very sort of set in your ways, and I got brought up with a very old school idea of football. The West Ham team was good, but it is dated now, and so you keep the good bits and you move on. But players now are surrounded by completely different circumstances. Right. Social media is hugely important to them. The people around them, the agents, treat them differently. So I think there are lots of things that you have to understand that when we were playing, the situation around us. And I'm not saying we were tougher. I start to sound like a dinosaur if you go. I just think you have to really consider your approach differently. And an example would be the old coaching style that you hear about, and people laud it, of Fergie throwing boots and Harry throwing sandwiches and that. And it was great in its time. And
hair-dry treatment and things like that.
Fergie's the best manager of all time. But at the same time, if you want to throw a sandwich or a boot at someone now, you'll probably get booted out of your manager's job. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be careful. It could be the first. So you have to treat situations differently. And that's I think the way the modern world's moved on, that football's moved on. It's very important that you understand that you can't be that dinosaur criticising. They don't clean boots like they did in the old days. You could have those feelings, but you just have to deal with it practically. They're different, different animals.
No, that's interesting, because that's what I found as well. And the job we do when I'm on the telly and that, you're comparing. Even 10 years ago, I watched a game from 2003 the other day. I don't know, it was on late at night. It was Liverpool against Leeds. Some of the great players, Robbie Keane,
Viduka.
Robbie Fowler, Viduka, Steven Gerrard, McAllister, Carragher. I'm looking at them, and the football was insane we were playing. I was like, and then you fast forward 20 years, and you look at any of the top teams down, Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, and the way they pass you, like the football just, things change. Football evolves, people evolve. So you have to always be on the front of, you always have to, what's going to make these players tick? Yeah. I think, it's good to hear that.
It's an interesting coaching point on it, is that I think when, this is my experience of coming through as a kid, but I never really watched video of myself. I think at West Ham Academy, bad game was like, you had a bad game, better next week, blah, blah, blah. And maybe in the week you get a bit of stick from a coach or something. That's different now. Yeah. By the time the kids, Mason Mount, Reece James, are 17 or 18, coming along to you as a first team coach, they've watched themselves the last 10. They do reviews of themselves every other week. So the way for me to get the best out of them is not to go, can't believe you did that. You have to show them why, tell them why, bring them into it. Okay, when we train coaching, I don't think you come on and stop them in the middle of the training pitch. Afterwards, you go, what do you think of that? Show them the video. Like, it's just a completely different approach to them.
That's what I would say. Tactically, the young players now are in a better place than what we were. I thought for English football, I think we said it on here, I think we was going in the wrong direction for so many years. And that's why because we talk about my journey, you know, I come from the street. I was a street footballer. Dad did have no clue about football. I didn't play an organised game till I was 11. So I was so different. I was like a freestyle futsal player. But these kids are so well, especially at Chelsea in the academy, because I worked there for a year. They're so well drilled tactically. It's amazing. So there is certain things that we've improved so much. So yes, it's interesting.
Is that a big part of it, Frank? 'Cause I think obviously as a manager, you brought through so many young players. I remember looking at the stats when Derby and Chelsea and the amount of young players that you brought through successfully, which obviously I imagine you're very proud of. But how big a part of it is the social media side, mental health, everything that comes with being a footballer? Now you see images of players after they've maybe had a loss on their phones straight away, which can obviously can be quite dangerous. Is that a big part of management now that you have to? So I imagine that's not something you're coached on a training course.
No, that was one of the hardest things of jumping into Derby, particularly as quickly, because I felt ready, but it caught me by surprise a little bit. So there were a little bit, so I want to think on my feet here a little bit. You know, like from being the player sitting and meeting for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
It's completely different delivering that. It's like the tone you want to strike. Like my first meeting at Derby, I walked into the room and I think if I was to get a video and watch that meeting that I had then, I'd probably cringe now, and it's only 2 or 3 years later because I felt like I was saying the things my door's always open, lads, come in, come and talk to me. I'm going to be a manager. I was retired a couple of years ago. And then they kept knocking on my door and I was like, get out of the office.
Not again.
Like the ones who are playing like that, I'm like, I said the wrong thing there. But you know, like there are so many little things you learn and you continue to learn. But like you're right, and on a serious note, social media, mental health, things that maybe in our era, I'm speaking for myself here maybe, but you grow up not, you know, you're supposed to shut your mouth, you're supposed to get on with everything, you're supposed to not to worry anybody, and now you have to open up to that stuff. And if it means, it's actually where staff and people around you become very important as well, because I can't be all things to everyone. I'm not perfect at all conversations and all that. So sometimes you go, okay, what's the environment and the staff and the people around you, and you tap into that. Because you can't be best coach, best, you know, psychiatrist, best, you know, like best sports science. So it's you have to take it really seriously.
On that, going back to sort of ending your sort of playing chat within Chelsea, we're going to talk about the Champions League in a bit, but the tougher times, I suppose, I think back to a lot of managerial changes in that Chelsea era. As a player, how tough was sort of, you didn't have many tough times, obviously you won so many trophies, but when the managers are chopping and changing so often, how difficult is that as a player?
I think you do have loads of tough times. I don't think you can have a career like we had over that time and not. And they don't get seen. You don't recall them so much. You know what I mean? But the managers changing, I wouldn't say it didn't bother me so much. That sounds cold, but I think you have to be very slightly selfish as a player, which is easy to do in your 20s or whatever. And you have to bounce through those things. For me, it would just be things that I found hard were bad periods of form on a personal level, World Cups. Losing World Cups, missing penalties. And
over the line, the one that was never given was, I mean, that's ridiculous.
Things like that were the things that would hurt me more than the over the line was when missing the penalty, because you just take so much on yourself with it. And I know you would have been the same as a player, Joe. We were very driven, weren't we? Like you want to just do the best you can for whatever reason. It's just what we're built for. And when you have knocks, they're tough. I remember when we got knocked out of a World Cup. I can't remember, 2006, got knocked out of a couple. But I remember getting stick for months as a Chelsea player. Myself, John, would that have been years where Ash took a bit, I remember. I think you'd had a good World Cup. Was it 2010? Or
2006.
2010 was South Africa,
and I think you got, you know, like you came off it well as you should have done. I'd missed a pen and all that sort of stuff. So, and missed a load of chances. I remember getting told I'd let my country down for 6 months at every away ground. And I thought about it when, you know, we had the Euros this year with Rashford and Saka and all these things, and thinking, you know, not much has changed, but that was happening now. We're just much more aware of it now. But it wasn't an easy period, and you have to fight through it a bit, have support around you, and it takes a bit of time sometimes.
That's actually interesting comparisons, because, you know, look how far we've come as a nation. You see Saka as an Arsenal player getting at Tottenham in a friendly,
getting cheered
on. And I remember that now, just funny, like I remember, and I didn't get it as much as Frank and John, because they were the pivotal players at the club, you know, so maybe that came into it as well. But how far we've come as a country. Now we you still see it on social media, but we need to remember that it's not there in the open, like 30,000 people booing a 25-year-old because he missed a penalty and abusing him. Now it's a little bit over there, so we've come so far in that way as well.
You mentioned England a couple of times. Obviously, I imagine you're incredibly proud about your England career. You said at the start, though, you obviously think about a lot of the moments that you didn't get over the line. Does that still hurt you, the fact that with that group of players you weren't able to win a major tournament, although obviously you're coming up against amazing teams each tournament?
Yeah, it does a little bit, but in brutal honesty, I don't think we've got close enough really than what we should have done. And I always say this because I think it's so casual to look back and go, that golden generation, which we didn't call ourselves. But we got
good point.
And but Spain had a platinum generation. Do you know what I mean?
Brazil were half decent as well.
So all these teams, and when it comes around every 4 years or every two, whatever, if you want to count Euros, they're all flying as well. And you know, it just didn't work for us. So I do have some regrets, but I probably have more if we got to a final and didn't quite do it. We didn't get close enough for whatever reason it was. And it wasn't for the want of trying. We could debate that one all day. That's another podcast and more. But at the same time, I'm more proud that I just played for my country and played that many times. I'd love to have won something, obviously.
Did you find that, Joe, playing for England as well? Because I remember being in the pub when you scored that epic goal against Sweden and the whole place erupted. And then, I mean, when you're playing for England in a major tournament, the whole country stops, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like for me, it was always about playing for England. My fondest memory in my whole career was playing my first game for England.
In your whole career?
In my whole career, because, like I said, I wasn't in a football family like Frank, and I didn't even watch football on telly till 1990 World Cup. So I would have been 9, and I watched Gaza, and I remember the moment watching it, thinking, I want to do that. Then getting my ball and going out next day and just practicing the David Platt volley or something like. So it was always about playing for England. So but again with Frank, it's a regret, but we wasn't close enough. Realistically we were quite a way off it, and you can debate the reasons why. Tactically I think tactically we were backwards in England for many years, and it ain't now. So you've got great young coaches like Frank, like Stevie, like Scott, ex-players been brought up the back end of their career. They've seen some great managers, Ancelotti's, Stevie's work with Jurgen Klopp and all that, and then all of a sudden now we're in the right. You've got an academy system that's working, producing players like Mason Mount, James Maddison, Jack Grealish, proper footballers who can handle the ball, and you know. So I think we're on the right way now, and I can see success for us in our future.
The difference in the Euros, when you looked at the players that we have, the options in forward areas, which can just go by people 1v1. And then I thought about it, because I've done a bit of media around the Euros, and I thought about it when you're thinking about the players they have. They're probably 7 options, Gareth, 3 positions or whatever. And I thought back to our days, and I remember the World Cup when Joe came through and did bits off the side and scored a goal against Sweden. We didn't have players that could do that other than that, really. Not front line players. It was you, and then you kind of go, you looked around, and no disrespect here, but we had a solid team. We were 4-4-2. We definitely could have done more with how we set up. But they weren't players that could just change that game. So when we had the little sort of, I remember drawing against Algeria or Ecuador a couple of games.
I was at the Algeria game.
That was a horrible
game.
One of the worst games I've ever played. But you know, in a game like that, when someone can unlock a door and on a difficult 100-degree afternoon or whatever in those games, we didn't really have in those forward positions, which now everyone does.
It's a good point, that, because I remember that the golden generation year you played in, you almost could pick the 1 to 11. In the Euros, I remember seeing not 2 pundits could agree on England's best 11. No. Obviously, you know, a lot of the Kanes and the likes of Maguire's you knew were in there, but there was so many options England had, weren't there? So which is exciting for England going forward.
And also how young they are as well. You know, and the generation below it, there's players as well. So we got an abundance, and it's not just these things don't just happen overnight. This is 10, 15 years in the making, from academies, under 7s, under 8s, under 9s, schooling these players, basically taking. When I look at Jack Grealish, I see a street footballer, but then he's added to his game. He can look after himself defensively. He's consistent with his final ball now. He's just like, you know, he's put it all together. So someone like that, and there's players behind him, Foden, like, it's just exciting.
A lot of options.
I think, I'm just lastly on that. I think that process is still happening. Like Joe's 15 years, but that game against Italy was a great example of the final for me, because we started so well. And then the game turned a bit, and they got the ball on, and that will be the best thing for those players, because you look at Italy. They've got 35-year-old centre half. They've got Jorginho and Verratti in midfield. They've got Insigne's 30 years of age. They've got like really good experienced players who have played in Champions Leagues and that. And then we've got really good players. Declan Rice first major tournament, Calvin Phillips first major, Mason Mount first major. So those players, now that's been a real experience. We've all been in those. The game turns, you can't get it back. And you know, hopefully in the next 2, 4, 6 years that will help.
Looking back at that, Frank, I was watching the game, and the goal went, I was at the game, the goal went in, and I was looking at it, and I was thinking, Verratti and Jorginho, why were we not stepping onto him? Listen, I'm not criticising Gareth Southgate. We love Gareth Southgate on the show. He's amazing. But I think if you could play the game again, which happens so much in your career, when you lose a game, we should have done that. Do you think we should have put Mason off of Jorginho, and just... Because you can't let Jorginho and Verratti have the ball. You have to step onto them. So it was a simple thing, but I think going 1-0 up, you hold on to it. You want to hold on to it. Just wasn't meant
I
to.
think I agree completely, and it's so easy with hindsight when you sit and withdrawn from it. But when you think you're 1-0 up, okay, we'll just hold on a bit. And then when you're playing a back three, it can become a back five, and even then the wingers become slightly withdrawn as well. All of a sudden, within 5 minutes to 10 minutes of a game, they've had a load of passes here, and it feels differently, doesn't it? And I just think we did maybe that. That'll be a bit of experience. It's hard. And putting my coaches in on, that's hard for Gareth as well on the side, because that's players trying to deal with situations in game, and they've been brilliant through the tournament, and then it just turned on in that game, and again I think they'll just come back much stronger for it.
Fingers crossed. Totally agree. I think the future of English football is very bright. It's time now for what really happened. We like this segment. Had a great story with Clinton on the last one, didn't we, Joe? So what really happened? We pick a moment from your career, Frank, and you give us all the insight of everything that happened. I think you know where we're going to go with this. 19th of May 2012. Our producer Jack is very excited for you to relive this because he's a huge Chelsea fan. Champions League final. Just talk us through the day and the build up to that. I mean, how are you feeling? Evening game, a lot of time to sort of overthink, I imagine. For a big game.
I feel a bit under pressure about this story now, by the way. You built that up. Clinton's obviously.
Clinton was doing it. What was Clinton on top of a car with Michael Flatley doing?
He was moonwalking on top of a limousine with Michael Flatley after the World Cup.
Is that right? Okay.
So were you doing that after the Champions League?
No, I was doing different sorts of things after. But we travelled to Munich obviously the night before, as you do, and. The overriding memory I have of it is a feeling of a little bit of fear of the game, because we had, I think, 4 big players out on JT, red card, obviously, from the semi. Ivanovic, I think Ramirez was that.
Ivanovic didn't play.
Yeah.
No,
so the single play right back, end up at centre half when we had to change it around a bit.
Ryan Bertrand started in the wing, I believe.
Ryan started on the left, so Ramirez had been really good, scored at Barcelona in the semi. So we had 4 or 5 big ones out. David Luiz had ripped his hamstring, just got fit back for it. So had Gazkate. Right, we were all over the place a bit.
Patched up.
You know what I mean? Really patched up.
Yeah.
That's a great way of putting it. And they were flying. They had like Ribéry and Robin on the wings, and Schweinsteiger and Cruz, 2 great players who I didn't really get that close to all night. But anyway, so as we travelled the night before, one of the best pieces of management that I've ever come across from Robbie Di Matteo was that he's called us in for a meeting to prepare for the game, and instead of being a tactical prep game, it was videos of all our families wishing us luck.
Wow.
Yeah. And it caught us all.
You didn't see that coming?
Didn't see it coming at all.
Right.
And so, he'd managed to get my 2 daughters at the time recording it, so I didn't know that had happened, but he'd done the same for everyone. So it was Gary Cahill's dad, which was quite funny. He was singing a song or something, but mainly emotional young children saying "Good luck, Daddy," blah blah blah, and we with tears and all this sort of stuff and emotions come out, and I remember it so vividly. When you talk about management and getting things right with people as opposed to tactics, that people come first. And Robbie did a masterstroke there. So then the day of the game, again, I just remember being relatively tentative about it. It was roasting hot, really sunny. All my family were coming over. Chelsea fans took over Munich, but also the Munich fans were great as well. I have to say, it was a really welcoming city for a home team. So there was an amazing atmosphere all day, and we were in a hotel very central to it, so we could sense all that. But I haven't got any major stories for you, because I was very focused as a player, and I was very always intent on never really changing my structure of what I did. So it was always a bit of focus and a little bit of your pre-match and your sleep, and don't get carried away. This is going to be the toughest game. Our last chance to win the Champions League.
You think last chance,
Yeah, because at that time I was 33, I think. Didier was just about to leave. He was a bit older than me. We're all getting towards a big bulk of the squad towards that side of it. So the day was really just full of nervous anticipation. So I don't recall lots of detail within it. Being captain and all those things were a great honour to me. But I was just so sort of stuck in. Right, we've got a job to do here. And the most inspiring thing I remember about the dressing room was Didier warming up, because Didier was just like. It started to do this routine for all the big Champions League games, which in that run we beat Barcelona and Benfica and Napoli, and Didier just did this sort of 10-minute routine. I don't know if he was doing it for all of us, because it just looked amazing, but it just looked like an absolute mountain. And he would do running, then he would be on the wall and he'd do some things, and then he'd headbutt the wall or something. It was so powerful.
Really?
There was one of those, you just let him go on with it, but you keep looking and going, God, he's right. We might have a chance here today. And Didier absolutely. And because as a captain, I think I was relatively quiet. I tried to lead by example. I wasn't a massive shouter. John was much more that natural than me.
Yeah.
So I was trying to. And when I saw that, I thought I better start shouting because Didier's absolutely giving it loads. So and that was I remember of it. And then just the game was 120 minutes of pain, really. It was a really difficult game. We defended a lot. There's a lot of shifting across midfield and trying to get close to people, and got lucky in loads of senses during the game. And then the big man, because Big Pete as well. Big Pete, he gets slightly forgotten on the day because Didier takes the thing. If he doesn't take the penalty, we lose the game. So to win a game like that, loads of things have to go in your favour. You can win a Champions League and not be the best team in the tournament. It's the way that the Champions League is, cup competition. But it felt like the culmination of 10 years or whatever it was of trying to. And then after the game, we just partied for a few days. Christine pulled me about 4 days after and went, "You've got to slow down."
Really?
Yeah.
What were the afters like then?
We had the big party in the hotel afterwards where the owner came. And Didier was playing. Everyone was in the pool on the roof they had, and went through the night. Then we came back and did.
You're not knackered when you've just spent 120 minutes, or does the adrenaline keep you going?
Probably adrenaline sort of gets you through it, doesn't it? And then we come back for the bus parade. Then there was another local drink and evening, and the next day, for some reason, I've arranged to go to a concert at the O2, which I don't normally do, and it was Kanye West and Jay-Z or something. I mean, not really my bag, really. And it was the third day, and you know when you wake up on day 3 and you kind of go, I think I fancy this. I managed to go with it. And so I'm at the O2, and then I was out again after that, I think. And I think that was in the next day, Christine went.
Listen, Lamps can have it, by the way.
Can he?
Yeah.
Good on a night out.
He's very, like you said, 150 IQ.
Yeah.
Like, the Latin and all that. But let me tell you, the fact, mate, he can drink. We'll probably end up cutting that out, but yeah, he's put me in the cleaners a few times. Because the thing with Frank, right, when we was on a night out, he'd be drinking and you'd be going, Then all of a sudden, I'd be like on a table with my shirt off, doing something stupid, and he'd just carry on. You wouldn't even know. He could do another podcast. You wouldn't even know. I've never even seen him wobble. He's unbelievable.
Love that. I think it's a brilliant story. I think we're getting some belters this season,
we are.
Did you feel, Frank, that you said that you got quite lucky in that one? It reminded me a little bit of the other Champions League final, and the fact that it went to extra time, went to penalties again. Did you almost feel you were lucky in one but unlucky in the other?
Yeah, I think we were. Against Man United in Munich, we struggled in the first half an hour. Ronaldo scored.
Yeah.
Then we came into it. I scored 1-1, and we were the stronger team after that. They were a great Manchester United team, really, really good and always dangerous. But we grew in strength through extra time, and then fate, obviously in a penalty shootout, which can happen, changed it. So yeah, I think maybe football has funny ways of sorting itself out, and maybe we didn't get it in that one. We got it years later, and would have loved to win in Moscow, but I wouldn't have it many other ways. Munich was so special, and possibly because of the build-up, because of the pain, because of how it had been. I'd love to have had more Champions League medals, clearly, but the night was so special that I'm not too concerned.
And I know that I've spoken to you before in the past, but it was one of the quickest answers. A previous interview I did with you, highlight of your career. You said Champions League final so quickly.
It was though. It built itself up. Losing semi-finals to great Barcelona teams. Yeah. The Liverpool ones, painful evenings.
Quite controversial, some of them as well. The Barcelona, I remember there was a lot of penalty shouts.
The Barcelona one was Liverpool one with a ghost goal. I mean, that feels a long time ago now. I'm not sure about that one so much. It felt painful at the time. Barcelona was ridiculous. It was a game that we clearly should have had a few penalties in, like 2 or so at least. And they were such a great team. That team was just on a different level. They're the best team I've played against by a million miles. Really? But so when you've gone through all that, it made the final that we won easily the best.
I was going to ask you about that. Actually, it brings me nicely. You said best team you've ever played against Barca. That Barca team was frightening. Yeah. Best player that you played with and against. I'm intrigued to know who you'd say, because you obviously played with everyone. Against everyone.
There's 2 that I'll say. One is Messi, because I think he's just the best. Yeah. And I feel bad with Cristiano now, because what Cristiano's done in massive games and winning finals and stuff, I think that's such a tight call. But just to play against him, I didn't play Ronaldo in his peak. Right. Played him at Man United and he was getting towards it, but not in those years at Madrid where he was just ridiculous. So I didn't really come against him then, but I did. I feel like I did with Messi, and I never got near him, and he was just amazing. And the other one is Ronaldinho, because in 2005 when we went to the Nou Camp, it was my first encountering of a player on a different planet. Like,
Really?
I don't know. Did you play that game?
I remember
2-1 game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I played the game, and
Jimenez
I was
was
left
up
on the right, so I was marking with Van Bronckhorst, and Jose was on me all the day. He said, "Listen, when Ronaldinho gets the ball
Again, he was on you
and
again.
Van Bronckhorst runs,
Yeah.
you
run.
go with him.
Yeah.
You go with him, like every day. Like, right, boss, yes, sweet. I've gone right. So you think yourself, you know the game. The ball's gone into Ronaldinho. He's pinned someone. I don't know who he's playing against. And he's had the ball. I'm thinking, Van Bronckhorst done what I thought was a stupid run. I thought, right, I ain't chasing him. I'm passing him. There's no way. And Ronaldinho went, boom, bang, and just put him behind. And I just looked over and thought, oh, fuck, I'm going to get it now. I'm going to get it. And I'm there chasing. Lucky Van Bronckhorst was slow. I managed to get him.
Yeah.
But like, oh, and then you're right. That's the first time I played against a player. He was strong like Essien.
Yeah.
He pinned me.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's like...
Really?
And he was unbelievable.
Unreal player.
It was him and Eto on that day, but particularly Ronaldinho's movement, speed. I was like, wow, this is different. You know what I mean? And that was the one. And, so them two, as I say, to play against, and then to play with, I've probably got to say John and Didier. I can't separate them because they're so different, but they had so much impact on us as a team. John as a captain, I don't think he was underrated maybe now, but there's certain elements of his game from the outside that may have been underrated because he was brilliant at everything as a centre half. And then Didier because of he turned up always in big games, always in pivotal games, scored amazing goals, influenced people around him. Had everything as a striker. If you drew a striker, you draw a Didier, 6 foot, strong, can touch, can shoot, can edit. Like at the time, so both of those had massive impacts for me.
Yeah, unreal record at Wembley, didn't he? The cup final, big game player. Frank, I know you spoke very highly. You love your time at Chelsea. I want to get your thoughts on everything that happened at Derby because I know that you look back on your time at Derby very fondly. Just really, at the time of recording, looks like Derby entering into administration. Your thoughts on everything that's going on at Derby right now?
Well, I the attachment I had with Derby in 1 year, the how welcoming the fans were in the city. It was a good year. We didn't get quite to where we wanted to get to, but I had an amazing time there. And the thing that struck me when I read the news recently about what it looks like is happening there is the people that work at the club behind the scenes, because it's a club with so much history. You know, so there's only Derby, that football club in that city. Everyone supports Derby. And most of the people that work there support Derby and have worked for Derby for this and care and do so many things for the community. The ex-players, older players are all coming to the games. Like there's something about the club which I'm so pleased in the back end of my career that I never wanted to leave Chelsea, and now I'm so pleased that I managed to go for a year in Manchester City, 18 months in New York, and experience things because it feels like it was so good for me to just see a different type of structure, different people. Live in a different city and understand that Essex and London is not the world. Do you know what I mean? And I was lucky to travel as a player, but you're always in a hotel, so you get bits of it, but not to actually live and work. And so for Derby, Mel Morris cares deeply about that club. He's invested a fortune into it, and I don't know the current circumstances, but I can only speak so highly of him in how he treated me. And some people would have different stories about Mel. He was amazing for me. Great human side, looked after me, people that work behind the scenes there, the players that are there, everything about that club. I just hope... I read the other day just something on social media that they've sold out their away game they've got next week, and next week, so all the fans are suddenly going, this is our life, and it looks like it's under pressure. So I really hope that they find the right solutions there because I had an amazing time there.
Yeah, and they're doing all right in the league as well. That's the sad thing. As Frank says, obviously there's a lot of people that are going to be affected, so hopefully they do find a resolution to it. But it is sad times for Derby fans at the minute.
Yeah, it's a great club. And like I said, we talk about it, we don't really know what's going on. But what I would say about Frank, when he took the job from the outside, like I was like, that's a tough job to take for your first
straight
one.
away you thought that?
Yeah, because the championship's so strong, ain't it? And I knew what people might not know. Frank did have a massive budget at Derby. It wasn't like it was Aston Villa where they had players on 50, 60 grand a week. So Frank and Jody, and they got, good loans in, Harry Wilson, Tamori Mount. I watched you play at Brentford. I watched you when you was on telly, and he just put what can be achieved on a small budget. It's like, it can be done, and it looks like Derby are going to have to cut the budget again just to survive. But yeah, it's a great...
I'll tell you a quick story when I went up and I'd agreed to take the job. Yeah. So I drove up the M1 to Derby and went and sat in the manager's office. It turned out my first time there. Mel sat down with me and I was like you, Joe. I was like, I thought about the job a lot because everyone says take the job when it feels right and perfect time and all that stuff. That's not reality. No. So I took it and Mel put the team up and all the players on the board. So he's got the tactics board there and the names and all that. So I was like, okay. So I'm already thinking I need a bit of legs, need a bit of youth in that team and all that. So he went, okay, Vyman, quite quick, up and down and scored a few goals.
Yeah.
He's going next week to Bristol.
Wow.
And then Vidra was Championship Player of the Year the year before, scored 27. Vidra, he's going to be going, not sure where yet, but he definitely needs to get for him. So he took two big dogs out of the squad. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay, all right. We've got, so in my pocket, I thought I might have a couple of loans because of my connections and those things. And I knew we needed youth and energy. And what Mason and Harry and Fikayo breathed into that squad was legs and quality and freshness. But I also realised that I underestimated the squad when I had that day, because when I looked at it, I was like, okay, I really want to do well here. And I think it might be tough because the league's so, you know, I didn't know, to be fair. But then when I worked with David Nugent, Richard Keogh, Bradley Johnson, Craig Bryson, I found a great experience of working with great pros that worked in the game for a long time. And good players give you everything. And when the young boys come in, sometimes it can be a bit like older lads and young boys don't always really. They look at them and go, are they going to come in and it became we had a nice little unit for a year and it worked. The young lads helped the older boys helped them. Like Richard Keogh used to doesn't drive, don't know why, he's 30 on. He doesn't drive, that's his choice, I suppose. But Mace used to drive him in every day.
Love
Mason
that.
So Mason, Harry,
young lad driving the old lad.
Mason drew Rich, so they used to have the father-son joke about them two all the time. Brought Martin Waghorn in, was an incredible lad, and I hope I haven't missed any out there because it was a really good year. And it worked. We didn't get there. I think you're right. Villa were better than us on paper and in the final, but we had a right good go, and I really enjoyed the year.
I was going to ask you about that as well, because I think one of your big strengths as manager was bringing through so many, giving youth a chance, but then giving these players that have gone on to such huge things. How proud are you of the likes of Tomori now, you know, playing for AC Milan? I saw some great quotes from Paolo Maldini saying how impressed he is. Mason Mount starting for England, you know, in huge games. How proud are you that you've given these players the opportunity and they're shining on the biggest stage?
I'm proud, and I've got to be careful I can't own it too much because it's them. You know, like Mason, his quality, his attributes, how he applies himself daily is special. We talk about work ethic. Mason's got it in abundance. So they've all got their own little stories, and I'm just part of that story in the fact that I gave them a chance. And Mason, he helped me as much as I helped him at Derby. Fikayo, to be honest, was a late one in the loan. I didn't know so much about Fikayo, and when he came in, he was quiet in week 1 and 2, and had a couple of games early on. And he won our Player of the Year. He was immense through the year. And when I came back to Chelsea, I was like, I want to invest in him. He did it for me last year. I want to give him the opportunity to play in the Premier League. And that first year he did great, and it was actually it was a difficult story for me, the Fikayo one, because we had sort of too many centre halves at Chelsea when I came back. In a way, especially in year 2, we ended up having 5. And I really wanted to help him, and I'm not sure he understood that, because it's hard at that cutthroat at Chelsea end, and you've got other players. Thiago Silva came in and his experience. So with young players, there are a lot of difficult periods, because you can promote them into the first team, you can hopefully help their development, but at the same time, you're going to have ups and downs with them where, you know, a Reece James, for me, is going to be an incredible right back for the next 10, 15 years for Chelsea in England. But last year, there'll be some games you go, Reece, you're learning the game now. You know, you've left a bit of space inside or whatever it is. Other games you go, wow, Reece James, with his kids. So, you know, there's a balance. But I definitely felt, I knew at Derby I'd had a really good time with young players. And when I came back to Chelsea, I had options, but I thought I was very intent on giving those young players a chance, because the Chelsea Academy, you know, Neil Bath, have worked so long to bring players through, and at times it hasn't worked for them for different reasons. And with the bunch that they had there, I thought that this is time for them to have a chance to get in there, and they all deserve it themselves. You know, whether it's Fikayo going there, now Tammy going to Roma, when you have a little personal attachment to them, kind of becomes bigger than the Chelsea thing. I just want to see them go and do well now. And if it doesn't work for them now, I messaged Tammy. I was so pleased Tammy went to Roma. I was like, fair play to you. A young kid going to when not many English players have really gone and had it off there over the years. And now Tammy already, because I know his personality. He'll go there and they'll love him. I hope he does really well and scores, but he's such a good lad. So all of those young, Billy Gilmore playing now regularly. I watched him playing for Norwich the other day, receiving the ball in the tightest area. At every moment he can. Personality as an 18, 19-year-old player. So I'm proud. I'm pleased to say. I wish them all well, the lads.
Class, love to hear that. Joe, I'm going to give you some odds with Coral now. Should we get into the odds? Let me know what you think of these. Man City 7-4 favourites to win the league, and Coral. If you fancy Chelsea to take the title, they'll give you odds of 2-1 now. Right. So there we go. I want to get your thoughts on this one as well. Cristiano Ronaldo to score 32 or more Premier League goals. That's a lot, isn't it, this season? 16-1 with Coral. Ronaldo is an incredible player, but 32 goals, Can you see that?
He's going to have to be fit for the whole season. He's going to have to play every game.
Yeah.
I can't see it as much as he's an absolute genius.
Scored 3 and 4 already.
Yeah. He's a genius, but I think that's a tall order. I don't think anyone will get 32 this year. I think that you have to remember, Man United are going to play 7 or 8 games against the other top 5 teams, which is going to be so tight. So there ain't the abundance of goals. Like you'll have to nick maybe a 3 or 4 against the Norwich or something. Sorry to Norwich.
So you're not having that. You're not having that. What do you think, Ronaldo, goal-wise?
I don't think he'd be miles away. I think that's a stretch. I think he'd go right into the 20s.
Yeah.
Started well and he's a machine, isn't he? It'd be interesting to see.
Okay, right, moving straight on to Coral Football Super Series games. So, Frank, what we do, we pick a game and we ask you to put... get your predictions hat on for this one. So we're going to go North London derby. It's quite a big game for both clubs, this one, isn't it? Arsenal against Spurs. Predictions that we want. First goal scorer. So there's 4 simple questions about this one. Who do you think will score first? Arsenal, Spurs. Usually goals in this game.
I don't think you can look by Harry Kane, can you? I mean, I know that people are talking about him not being in the best of form.
Yeah.
That's when he always proves people wrong.
Yeah.
I'll just, off the top of my head, I'm just remembering great goals he scored in derbies against Arsenal.
Yeah, he's got an amazing record for incredible goals to game record for Spurs against Arsenal. What do you make of that when he does face criticism for not scoring 2 or 3 games? Because he's clearly a world-class player, isn't he?
He clearly a world-class player, like undoubtedly so. And I think in the Euros, people were on him in those first 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
And then he comes good and, becomes the talisman that we know he is. He's going to smash the English record at some stage whenever he wants to. And my feeling is that how harsh it is that he plays the Euros, which is tough, and then he has his break. Then there's no doubt the idea, would he move and would he not, would have been a bit of a thing on him mentally. But then everyone expects him to come in and hit the ground running straight away. And maybe the weekend's the time he does it, because he's brilliant. I've got a lot of time for Harry Kane.
Yeah, and people forget, as I say, he hasn't scored. He has actually scored in European competitions for Spurs, just not in the Premier League. I often feel people forget about that. First goal scorer for you, Joe?
Yeah, I'll go with Harry Kane for the same reasons.
Okay. Very specific, this one, Frank, but we do it each week. Time of first away team goal. So that will be Spurs' first goal.
20 in the 20-minute zone.
Okay.
I think Spurs will hit the ground running.
Do you?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. I love it. Yellow cards, what you saying?
It's a feisty derby, isn't it? Yeah. So what's the feisty number of yellow cards?
Oh, we did.
Five's the
Jack's got all the stats. Do we know that's right?
Love it, Jack.
Yeah.
I'll say 6.
6?
Yeah, I'll go 5.
Okay. So, slightly less feisty for you then.
Slightly less feisty. Take a bit off.
Less. Finally, how many corners? Cool. And if you get this right, we will obviously let you know.
Yeah, there needs to be a prize for the guests or something. I don't know. Send them a bottle of champagne. Because if you nailed this, you've done it, you've cracked it.
Bottle of champagne, is that... no, it's not. Okay, corners.
I want to say there'll be 10 corners.
10 corners? I think that's about right. It's usually about 11, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look at them nodding. Yeah, 11.
That's it. Great branding, lads. 9. I'll go 9.
Okay, 9 corners. Don't forget you can play along at home. You must be over 18. Head to coral.co.uk. Answers questions correctly to win cash prizes. And, of course, please gamble responsibly. A couple more odds to bring you. If you think Arsenal win 3-0, Coral will give you odds of 22-1. This is quite interesting, Joe. 8-1 if you think Spurs will nick a 1-0 victory at the Emirates. 8-1. Pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, but listen, I can see Arsenal scoring. But
you see both teams scoring?
I see both teams scoring. I think the bet for me is both teams to score, Spurs to win. I still think Arsenal are way off it. I think Spurs are obviously off it, but they're not as far off it as Arsenal. I think Spurs win this game. Okay,
it should be a very entertaining game. Frank, nearly all we've got time for. Thank you so much for that. I just wanted to end by sort of saying your favourite memory of playing alongside. I know that you two are very good mates and you've had fond memories. So your favourite memory of sort of playing alongside this man, Joe Cole?
You've thrown that one on me there, haven't you?
Because it's of it.
Probably the goal that sticks in my head was a great day was the goal you scored against Man United on the last day of the season.
Yeah.
We'd already won the league, hadn't we?
Yeah, we needed a result.
We needed a result.
We needed to win. We needed to win the game.
We scored early.
But we had 2 games away,
up. And then you shimmied through. Was it Rio?
Rio, yeah. I tell him all the time.
I bet you do tell him, don't you? Yeah.
I love that goal.
Yeah.
I love that goal and celebration. So there's loads of individual. Joe was that sort of player. Wasn't he? The Sweden goal I remember vividly as well.
Sweden goal.
Yeah.
What a goal. And Joe, same to you, really. It'd be, amazing to have Frank on, isn't it? So I feel like with you, Frank, there's so much we could do this for 4 hours, couldn't we?
We could he could do it for 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The best moment with Frank. I'm going to go back to the West Ham days.
Yeah, okay.
And then the 5-4 game against Bradford, because that was just an insane
wow, that's a
game.
random
no,
pick.
But it's like we was like this game could have a podcast of it. So you had Bywater come in, right? Xhaka broke his leg kicking a ball.
Yeah.
So Bywater came in and he was all over the gaff. And bearing in mind, he was my youth team goalkeeper and he was a character.
Yeah.
So, like, it was brilliant. And then the game was end-to-end, Paolo off the pitch. And then we was dead and buried.
Yeah.
And it got to 4-4. And you think, oh, take that. And Upton Park was buzzing. Then Frank, a ball come inside. I think I come inside, popped it off from it. And it come to Frank and he shifted on his left foot and put it in the top corner. And
You remember this one, Frank?
It was after me and DeKenna had the penalty.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
yeah,
was it?
that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
So we had a wrestle with the ball.
I remember that. We didn't speak about
which
that,
is like cringy now. I hate watching it. And it comes up now on Sky every now and again. I've got my curtains. And I'm wrestling with Paolo. I'm never going to win it. Don't know what I should have bowed that much.
I do remember the
Do you know that one?
Yeah.
Do you know that one? Like you can't argue with insanity. Like there's no way. Like what was you
never
thinking?
gonna
There's no way.
Never.
You would have been there. He was never going to back down. I
Yeah,
knew
never.
because Frank's obviously he should have took the penalty because Paolo had missed one.
Yeah.
The week before, but he was never going to win, was
No.
he? He would still be there today. But yeah, he cut inside, put it in the top bin, and it was just I don't know. It just stuck out to me.
game,
yeah.
It's a big game for
Love that.
Yeah, it was just like, it was the first time I played in a game as a youngster where I thought, wow, that's
Really?
gonna look good on tape.
Yeah, and we didn't mention the curtains, Frank. You just brought it up there. So you say you look back on that and you're not having it so much.
No.
Frank's had 2 haircuts. You don't talk about haircuts in this. I've had a few too many.
That was my up until about, I don't know, low 20s haircut.
Yeah.
I've just gone pretty much this one for the
Love it. Well, I think it's the perfect. We went on the haircuts, Joe. I think it was a brilliant episode, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, brilliant.
Loved it. Frank, thank you for
Thanks
coming
for
on.
having me. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely loved it.
Cheers.
And that, of course, was all to play for, brought to you by Joe and Coral. Don't forget to find us on joe.co.uk's YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. See you in a few weeks.
You've been watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.